Hello! Today's story is right here. Sadie's Seed Adventures. Written by... wrong splat. Up here a little further. Written by Tina Dybick. Illustrated by Adam Record. Hi, Marv, said Sadie. What can we do today? Hi, Sadie, said Gardener Marv. It's time to pull weeds and get the garden ready for next spring. This garden looks like a jungle, she said. We'll get ready, Sadie. Strange things can happen in the jungle, he said. What are those stickers on Jonesy? Sadie asked. Gardener Marv pulled off a sticker and held it. Meet the Cockover, he said. I've seen those burrs in the country, said Sadie, but not here in town. Then while you're working, see if you can find a cockover plant, said Marv. Now remember, safety first. Anything can happen in this jungle. I found the stickers, said Sadie. Well done, replied Marv. They're the cockover fruit. Sadie pulled a burr from the plant's tall stem. Marv cut it in half. The outer part of the seed is called a hull, explained Marv. It's like a container, and it holds a tiny living plant. The plant will grow in the soil when the conditions are just right. But how did the seeds for these plants get into our garden? Asked Sadie. Marv grinned. Let's find out, Sadie, he said. It's time to put on our adventure hats. Sadie put on the safari hat. She started to get dizzy. Why do I feel like I'm falling? She asked. And the cockover plants are growing. We're shrinking, said Marv. Here comes Jonesy. Jump on and take a ride. Sadie jumped up to catch the dog's fur. She and Marv were stuck tight. She thought about how the burrs stuck to the dog. They could also hitch a ride on a deer or raccoon, right? Those animals might stop to feed from the garden. If the burrs brushed off on the soil, they could start a new crop of cockover plants. That was it. Sadie knew how the cockovers had found their way to the garden. Just then, Jonesy charged into a bunch of brown pods, and soft white fluff filled the air. More seeds? Asked Sadie. It's milkweed, said Marv. That's how the seeds disperse. I meant to pull the milkweed plants before the pods burst. Now we might have milkweed everywhere. I figured it out. The burrs got here on animals, said Sadie. That is correct, Marv replied. But what about the milkweed seeds? Did they ride animals too? Sadie gazed at the fuzzy floating seeds. She dropped her gloves and spread her arms wide. Let's go for another ride, she said. Hold on to your hat, warned Marv. They floated over the garden. They finally touched ground on the shore of the pond. So the wind disperses milkweed seeds? Asked Sadie. Correct again, said Gardener Marv. But how do we get back to the garden? She asked. Marv stepped onto a lily pad. Take a look in the pond, he called. Sadie teetered to the edge and peeked at the water. What are those berries? She asked. They are the fruit of the water lilies, said Marv. Follow me. Marv jumped on a berry and hugged it like a beach ball. He was floating toward the creek that ran past their garden. Wait for me, Sadie shouted. They were almost to the garden when a huge gust of wind blew their hats off their heads. "See that branch?" yelled Marv. "Grab on!" Sadie reached up to grab the branch. "Ouch!" she cried. A thorn had stuck her thumb. "The berries look like blueberries," she said. "Those are buckthorn berries," Marv explained. "You don't want to eat them. They'll make you sick." Sadie jiggled the branch a little, and a few berries fell to the ground. The shaking of the branch startled a finch out of the buckthorn bush. A blue-black dropping fell from the bird and landed on Sadie's boot. "Gross," said Sadie. She leaned over to study the dropping. A small green pit stuck out of the center. "Is that a seed?" she asked. "Sure is," said Gardener Marv. "A buckthorn seed hull is hard. It can wait for years before it starts to grow." Sadie was more interested in where the seed had been. Passing through a bird's sharp beak and tiny dark insides was a dangerous way for a plant to start a new life. "A buckthorn seed is strong," she decided. "So strong we don't plant it," agreed Gardener Marv. "That bush would take over the garden. It would be hard to control it." Their adventure hats had washed ashore. Sadie looked at the garden plot. The jungle of weeds was gone. It was time for lunch. "We've had some big adventures," said Marv. "What did you think?" "If I could be a seed," Sadie said, "I'd be a milkweed seed, so I could float on the wind." Gardener Marv laughed. "And what did you learn?" he asked. "Respect the jungle," she said, "because anything can happen." Dispersal methods of seeds. Cockleburrs hitch a ride. Milkweed seeds, wind. Water lily berries, water. Buckthorn berries, animal poop.